Hey, my friends, can you believe it's Friday again? Another Separation Friday, and it's another time for Building Wins Live. And looking forward to a great chat today with a good friend of mine, Mark Gassert. Mark is a guru in the sales world. He's a sales pro. He's a sales coach. He's an umpire, and we're going to chat about a lot of things, including a subject all us guys like, right, which is baseball and how that relates to sales and whatever else happens to pop in our head. So you're going to love Mark, and we might want to talk about where he's from because it's a pretty nice spot. It's a little bit, it's almost a fruity spot in a good way. Anyways, don't go away. We'll be right back with my friend Mark Gassert.
Wow. What's going on? This is fantastic.
It's all Wes Wyatt, WesWyatt.com, buddy. He makes it happen.
I hear you.
He makes it happen.
Beautiful.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing tremendous. I am so thankful, have a lot of gratitude that you actually included me into your show. I've seen some of your guests, and Randy, I'm going to say from a year ago, look where we've all come from. Look how we evolved. I remember you doing walk-in talks out there on the pavement. You still do them. You show up in a car and make comments, and I think it's tremendous. Now you have this platform out here, your show, you talk about building wins, so I'm really excited to be here.
Well,
very humble.
Hey, buddy, I'm honored that you be on, and I appreciate it because you bring some great stuff to the table, and I love watching what you do and some of your podcasts that you're involved with, and we're going to talk about some of that in a little bit. But first, I always like to start out with a little bit of just who in the heck is Mark Gassert? Where are you from? Because I kind of led with that a little bit tonight because I know it's one of your favorite things to talk about. So where are you from, and tell us about Mark.
Oh, tremendous. I am from the peachiest place on the planet, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. It's about 25 miles north of downtown Atlanta. And, everybody teases me about it when I kiddingly say it's the peachiest place on the planet. Of course, if you're in the state of Georgia, there's Peachtree Plaza, there's Peachtree Street, Peachtree Road. There's so much Peachtree out here, it'll blow your mind. But that's where I'm from. And it's near like the Norcross area, Duluth area. And if you're familiar with that, I'm a Gwinnettian. Gwinnett County is the county, the fastest growing county out there in the stratosphere. Always something new evolving in Gwinnett County. And my wife just started school this week. The teachers go back. So next week we're going to see those school buses, and they'll be wearing masks and locking and loading and doing their thing. I'm just a dad. I have two sons, one that now recently got married. He played college baseball. That's Jacob Teddy. He currently is a quarterback at Guilford College. He's going to go back next week for camp. So those two young lads keep me hopping. I won't mention my age, but this last week I will share with you, I got a little overzealous with yard work and pulled some things in my back, and I had to go to the doctor earlier this week, and everything checked out. But I got to learn to pace myself, like anything else. I'm not 30 anymore, but
no, I know you just turned 42. I know.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, awesome. So, one of the first things right out of the gate, because I find this fascinating, and I think it has so much to do with our world of sales, and especially guys, but a lot of women too. But I don't want to slight them with this comment. But guys, especially, we love to use sports analogies. We love to work sports into and talk about business in a relationship with sports.
Right.
Like that was a touchdown. For if you get a good deal, things like that. But besides having college athletes for sons, you do some on the diamond stuff yourself, do you not?
Yes, I sure do. I umpire, and my father somewhere up there is looking down, smiling, telling my mom, who goes by the handle of Betty, they're both passed. They moved on. My dad lived to be 95. I'm sure he's looking down saying, look at him. Look what he's doing. He talked me into it after the guys got older and, into the high school realm. And I started out doing youth games, and then it led to other things. And it's umpiring and sales are kind of very similar because it's how you set the tone and your approach. Like when you have a plate meeting, before you call a prospect, a customer, and it's pretty interesting when you go through that process and the way you present yourself, because when you have that plate meeting, you got to look a certain way. Your uniform has to look crisp. You got to look the part, the shoes got to be shined, and you got to know what you're talking about. Then you exchange lineup cards, and I could get into a lot of different things, but I won't. And it's no different from a call. You have to prepare. And that's what I think sometimes people don't do enough of, is prepare. Put yourself in a position to win. And I think a lot of that transitions from being curious when you engage with somebody. And there's a rule that our trainer always kiddingly tells us, Andrew. It's called the 90-10-90 rule, where 90% of the time you're asking questions or listening, and 10% you're actually asking questions. And the other 90%, again, you're listening, to those answers. And I think all of us need to work on that process of listening more, Randy. We don't.
Yes, I agree. So it's kind of back to that old adage, if I'll get it right, of too many of us listen to respond or to reply as opposed to listening to really understand what the customer, in our case of sales, or in your case, if you're on the baseball diamond, what the managers of the other team, the coaches, or the players might be asking or talking about. If you're always looking to just figure out your reply, you're missing what they're telling you, right?
Right. Right. And it's you got to listen. And I think it boils down to three things. Are you the type of person? I thought about this one day. Were you demand respect, command respect, or do you earn respect? And I think through our actions and how you present yourself, no different from a call, you earn that respect. Are you putting some hustle behind your muscle? I know I'm kind of getting down and dirty here, but that's how I kind of approach things. I like to have fun with it. I have people that hang up on me. I have fun with that as well. You can't take it personal. No means not yet, and don't act like it's you. It just means not yet. And and I think sometimes for people that are getting into sales, that's what they struggle with. And they look in the mirror and say, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this happening? That happened. Now there are things you can do to position yourself, put yourself in that position to win, but it's not always you per se. It's, the customer may just not be ready. And and don't internalize it. Move on to the next, and
Right.
and learn to have fun with it, and stop taking yourself so serious. And I think you have to just enjoy the process, embrace it, and just be yourself. And that's
Well,
being authentic. Tell the truth. Don't
exactly.
don't manipulate people.
Well, and like you said, no, I think a lot of young guys, especially, and young as in age or young just in how long they've been in the world of sales, no is like the most devastating answer they can get, but it's really not, because sometimes no is no. No, I've always felt like it's just not now, but that means I can move on to the next process, the next project, and know that I'll circle back at some point, right? And I'd rather just be told flat out, I don't care what your deal is right now. I am 100% satisfied where I'm at. Barring a catastrophe, I have no interest in switching right now. I'd rather you just tell me that up front, because then I'll move on to the next potential prospect that I actually have a shot to work with, right?
Hmm.
So no is not necessarily bad, and like you said, it's not me telling Mark Gassert, no, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying I don't like you. I'm just saying that today, for whatever reason, it's just no right now, right? That's all. And I think that's
Right.
what you very much alluded to.
Yes, and no, that's correct, Randy. There's a quote by John Wooden, and excuse me, but I am going to read this. I'm looking down at it because this is
Oh, read it.
something I really believe. It's success is a peace of mind in knowing you have done your best. Now, he was probably one of the greatest collegiate winning coaches up until Krzyzewski came into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that guy lived by that mantra, that code. And I know everybody teases about his pyramid system, but if you think about it in its purest form, what you look in the mirror, the accountability mirror, as Chris Rosh likes to say, he's a coach, but you look in there and you look at yourself and say, hey, did I give it everything I got? Did I do all the things I'm supposed to do? And then, that's an inner peace. Maybe you don't get the sale and it's not fun to lose, but you just got to learn from it and then develop and go on to the next thing. I don't look at it as sometimes you hear people say failing your way to success, like in baseball, but your approach, maybe you have to alter it because in baseball, you're constantly altering things, whether you're in the field, you're at the plate, you know, even as an umpire, where you stand, how you position yourself. If he's a left-handed batter, right-handed batter, it all comes into play. You just got to
That
be
makes sense.
flexible.
Flexible, exactly. Be flexible, and I've always believed that um, it's only a loss, right? And many people have said this. It's not like this is not my quote. I might take it if nobody else does, but it's that it's not a loss if you learn something from it. It's only a loss if you didn't
Right.
analyze and say, could I have done something wrong? Did I miss something here? Geez, I misread this guy. Whatever it is, and if you can take that away and go, okay, I'm not going to do that again. Then it really, I mean, it maybe not the big win, but it's still a win, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I want to win. I'm very competitive,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I know if I prepare myself and I've done all the things I'm supposed to do, and that's what's kind of cool. Like, I'll just share something. Every Tuesday, we have these get togethers where we may listen to calls, and this is kind of a one-to-one thing. And, sometimes I listen to myself and go, wow, man, that guy's out there in left field. And then other times it's like, hey, that's pretty cool. So you're not always going to be perfect, but, you just have to learn to adapt, improvise, and overcome because
There you go.
some customers that you're going to deal with are going to be tougher than others, and you got to kind of know their behavioral styles. And if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. Some
Right.
people are real direct and to the point. They're assertive. Others are more inquisitive. They want more information. You know.
Exactly. So, um, Wes just popped up your salesconcepts.com. You let's talk about your world of coaching, of training, because I think that's an area of interest. It's always an interest to me. I always like training. I always like coaching. I always find that fascinating and interesting.
Mhm.
And what uh, I guess I'll ask a question for somebody that might be watching this at some point now or on a replay. I've been doing this for I've been doing it forever, as you know, 4+ decades, and I say that like it sounds like not as long as 40 years. But what's an old war dog going to learn from a coach? Because I know there's always something to learn, but
Sure.
why should anybody want to work with a sales trainer or a coach?
Well, what you're doing right now, one of the things, let's just say in its purest form, what we do is we help salespeople lose fewer orders. We help people that work in customer service, management, anybody that's engaging with customers, potential customers. We teach them, from a behavioral standpoint, how to deal with personality types, whether they're analytical, whether they're assertive, animated, amiable. I'm not going to get into all that. You can go to the website and check it out for yourself. One of the things you brought up that's great. That was a great question. What can you teach an old person like me? Not that you're old sales dog that you are. warrior, and some of the things that are out there right now, some people do not know how to live stream. Some people do not know how to present themselves appropriately virtually, whether it's Zoom, Microsoft Teams. I could go through all the different platforms. They don't know how to do that. And this always is the age old question. Are we going to go back? And there are a lot of people, experts out there that say, no, we're not going to go back. This is more efficient, more cost effective than sending people out on flights or going here or there when you can make multiple calls this way. It's not the best way. Obviously, we'd rather be face to face in that type engagement process, but I think this is the next best thing right here, what we're doing.
Well, what I found, Mark, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on is I remember when I got into the let's just say the world of air quotes virtual. I had no choice, right? I couldn't. I was a road warrior. I couldn't be on the road anymore, and so it was either set and do nothing and wait for the old normal to come back, which I become convinced pretty quickly that probably never was going to go back 100%, nor or should we, or do we need to? But I've also found over time that as things started opening back up again, one or two things I found for myself, and I love your thoughts on this, is I've taught myself and learned through many people, including yourself, and watching your shows. You honored me by being a guest a couple times on your show, which I appreciate. Um, I've learned to do some of these things that if we ever go back to a period of time, it's almost like bring it on because I'm ready. But if we don't, I've learned to augment my hashtag Road Warrior Randy work with, because you could do it from the hotel room in the evening. You could get up and shoot a quick video in the morning, do a live from your car. All the things that all of us do all the time. So it's not something that's just for this period of time when we was on some lockdown and then we'll just walk away from it completely. That's a long version, but if I'd love your thoughts on that. I think you sort of touched on it, but elaborate.
Sure. I think you hit the nail right on the head when you said we're not going to walk away from this. This is another tool that you will implement in that process. It could be negotiating, selling, it could be parent teacher conferencing. I mean, we could go through the whole realm. I've watched what my wife has to do as an educator, and there's a lot of things. I have a lot of respect for people that educate our young people here today. They are being asked to do a lot of, things that I didn't even realize till we started working remotely and I got to see and hear firsthand, more or less what she does. But the point I do want to bring up, and excuse me, I'm going to do a little broadcasting here. Like I learned how to do this from a gentleman, Ken Walls, and his Grow Live Academy. I know Ken, and thanks to him, I ventured onward and tried this. And look what I'm doing. I would have never thought a year ago I'd be doing this or listening to guys like Jeffrey Gitomer and what he's doing, or we could get into Benjamin Franklin Gay III. I call him BFG3. There's like guys like Glenn Morshower out there that, they pontificate the finer points of life, the sage that he is. And it could go on and on and on. And I just learned from them. And the reason I really embrace and appreciate what you do is I learned from you, your show, your guests. You can't put a price tag on that. It's not always about dollars and cents. And, I learned that from my father who, I was talking to someone earlier today and I was thought about this. My dad, very unassuming, from the greatest generation, he did pass away a millionaire. I mean, I didn't know it till he shared that information with us, but he was the type of guy where he worked hard, saved, did his thing, fought in the South Pacific, worked with the Bethlehem Steel, retired as Sergeant Major. He was even an official basketball, football, baseball, Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame type guy. So, I think we can learn a lot from them. And it's kind of sad that they're slowly moving on. But I think, as I kiddingly say, not kiddingly, but they're looking to pass that baton on to us. And I think right here, we're at a critical point. Which way are you going to go? Are you going to really embrace this and use it in your everyday, dealings with people? I'm not saying getting away from face to face, but it's a tool that can just create, eons of opportunities for everybody out there.
Absolutely. I've really grown to a word I use for it myself more than anything else, but I talk about with other people sometimes is it's a great, as you said, a tool. It's a great augmentation to what we normally do. Picking up the phone, and I know you're a fan of the phone, which I agree with. But picking up the phone or nothing still, and different industries are different, right? My industry is one that is still very much, shaking hands and bro hugging and coffee and donuts in the morning and a burger and a brew in the evening with a customer. They
Sure.
like it, they expect it, and people like myself, probably a little more old school, that's spent 40 years doing this. These people are friends, so they're people you do want to go see and to spend time with. But uh, I believe that what we do with some of this world of virtual, if you will, is we have the ability to have more contact and good contact with people than we ever had in life. Because in the past, if I saw you every 2 months,
Sure.
outside of a phone call, maybe or two, you wouldn't see me for 2 months again. Now, with what we're doing here, with social media and the things that we all do, and shows and guesting on other shows and videos and walk and talk, they may see us 5, 8, 7 times a day, right? And so
Right.
I
Oh,
think it is a great
absolutely.
augmentation. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said absolutely. I think what's kind of cool is take this live streaming right here, right? You take this particular platform, you and I can, not be live per se to all the platforms out there. It can just be you and I on a call,
Mm-hmm.
and which is kind of cool. And a lot of times with us, you ask me about sales concepts, it leads to the phone call initially, and then we engage like this right here on this type of platform. And people can see firsthand what we're doing, how we're doing things. uh, you know it's I think anybody that's not doing this, I think you're shortchanging yourself, just to solely do it. No, I think you have to implement the other features that are involved with sales or how to engage with people, sure, but not to take advantage of this. And for those that are looking for opportunities or jobs, this is a tremendous vehicle. I mean, you can go right to the source and do a video, Randy, and say, hey, Randy, I know you're the HR person or you're the hiring manager. Hey, I just wanted to say hello, introduce myself. I am interested. How many people do that?
Right.
You know,
Well, and you go back again. We date ourselves, Mark, but you go back to the days. I remember the days of, and every generation. Well, I don't want change. A lot of people don't like change, and we need to embrace change because
yeah.
I go back to days, and I'm guessing you and I are probably in the same general age group. Um, Pulling up to the payphone, which guys 20 listen to this show will go, "What is a payphone?" I heard about that, but but literally pulling up, 118 below zero out, cord's always way too short, and you're reaching out with the ice and everything, trying to dial that 896 numbers, to call, and then it rings busy. Then you do it again, and then you call, and I get a hold of, "Oh, Mark's not in. He'll be back in 10 minutes." Well, then you drive down the road to save time, but it took 25 minutes. You call back, well, you missed him again. You right, and then we went to pagers, then we went to bag phones,
The
and we went,
pager's what I'm remembering, and then
yeah,
trying to get to a, a, a payphone or something, or some phone somewhere. And yeah, oh wow, I don't
yeah,
even.
yeah. So you think about how much better we are, how much more equipped we are, how much more we can accomplish today versus just going back 25, 30 years. So all this stuff is just that next generation of stuff, right? Whatever that stuff is.
Right.
And
Right.
if we're around long enough to be doing this 15 years from now or 20 years from now, there'll be something new, whatever this is, right? It'll be new,
Right.
and I think that the key there is to and you hit the word a word that I love a couple minutes ago called engagement, right? If you stay
Right.
engaged with the industry and you stay engaged with technology, you stay engaged with what's happening, and don't run from it, grasp it, and
Right.
find out how to manipulate it into your, and I mean manipulate it in a good way, into what your little segment of the market is. You got a whole lot better. You're in a much better position to win, I guess is what I'm saying.
And you brought up a great point there, Randy. I think if you remain curious, whether you're in sales or whatever your profession is, I think you'll flourish because when you're curious, you're asking questions and it's not always about you. I mean, there is so much since, we've had the advent of what we're doing here. I wish I would have had this 11 years ago, when I had that financial hiccup, but we didn't. So be it. We move on. But, you know, what you can do with this is unreal. And when I hear people that are out there struggling, I get that. But you know, I would tell anyone that's looking for an opportunity, or particularly a job, I would tell them, hey, you need to take a look at streaming, live streaming and virtual. You need to really engage in this and embrace it because it's not going to go away.
Right. Exactly. It's not going to go away. And as Wes and I chat many times, um, and for anybody who don't know, Wes Wyatt, WesWyatt.com is my producer director and a buddy of
And he
ours.
does a great job for you, by the way. Wes, I'm going to
Oh,
give you a plug. Tremendous
he
job.
he does a
Yeah.
tremendous job, and he also helped me down some good food Monday night of this week. So,
Oh,
um,
cool.
but uh, but we talk about this often about how there's a segment of people that jumped into uh, this virtual whatever, and as soon as okay, you can kind of go back to normal, they're going to run right back to normal and forget it completely. I think I the people that stick with this refine it, adjust, because I don't do as many live shows now as I did
Sure.
during the heart of lockdown world because
Right.
I'm traveling more now, right? And I'm doing
Yes.
more in person with people. But I never would stop uh, doing these ever in my mind. But it also tells me it gives me a comfort level, Mark, of knowing that if we hit some 2 3 month thing again, which I hope we don't, but if we do,
Yes.
um, I don't have to relearn it again because I'll just go back to doing 10 of these a day then or whatever,
It,
right? I
it,
mean, you've got the tools now, right?
right. Oh, absolutely. I have to share this. Last evening on a mastermind with Grow Live, excuse me, there was a young man of like, I think 12. I think his first name was Luke. I don't want to get into it, but that young man was already doing podcasts, interviewing people. I mean, doing what we're doing. And I'm sitting there listening to this and I'm thinking, and someone brought up the fact, hey, what do you think it's going to be like for this person when they're in their 30s? And I'm thinking, wow, this individual is going to be like above the stratosphere. I mean, he is going to be so far ahead of his peers because of what he's doing now. It's incredible. And they just grab hold of this technology like it's they're the back of their hand. And you and I had to learn it and how to learn to unmute yourself, to how to focus, how to just all this crazy stuff.
Exactly.
um and I'm envious of the younger folks coming up because man, they are just going to take this thing to another level that you and I haven't even thought about or are going to see. Maybe I don't know, hopefully we're still around, God willing,
Right.
but
Yes.
I can only imagine what it's going to be like.
Well, and it's fun because if you look at it, like you said, as a tool, then why not use every tool in your toolbox, right? and it's just one more way to separate. I talk about separation Friday, right? The time to separate yourself. I'm getting some feedback, aren't I, somehow?
Yes, that's all right. Hey, you know what, Randy? That's the beauty of going live. You never know what's going to happen, so you just roll
Exactly,
with it.
exactly. But so you do your sales concept. You have Mark's message several times a week, typically,
Hmm.
right? What's Mark's
Right.
message about?
We talk about whether it's sales related. You'll see me every now and then promote things for sales concepts or just bring up some things in general. Every now and then I'll get on there and do a free form Friday, but I'm here. Or even interview guests. Then it doesn't have to be sales related. It could be other things because I like to do that. I'm not just about sales or whatever. I do other things. I want to start bringing probably some umpires on and talking to them, whether high school, college, and get their take on what's going on. With all this craziness and COVID, I do have to share this since you said what's it about. What's kind of crazy is uh, it's not so much the kids as it is the parents. When you do some of these games in the lower level baseball, because they don't quite understand all the rules. But now we're getting into where some of the kids that are 12, I say 15, some of the language that you hear is not in the best interest of mankind. And you're like, where's this coming from? Kind of interesting, though, that you asked me about umpiring. So I've seen and heard a few things.
I bet.
I've been involved with an ejection or two. I had a partner one time in a tournament get physically pushed. I mean, I was like in shock when I saw it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And, there's some real crazy stuff out there. So, you know, being an umpire is always fun. I mean, I kiddingly say this. My dad was at a game one time. It was a minor league game, I think, and they played three blind mice. The head umpire didn't see the humor in it, and he threw out the organist. This was like a grapefruit league season, but I thought that was hilarious. I mean,
That's pretty funny.
but I think and even when you umpire, you got to take yourself, take your personality out of it and just be objective and have a good time with it. You can't internalize it, or because you hear all sorts of things. Whether it was a ball strikeout safe, I could get into that, but I won't.
Mhm. Well, I can only imagine.
Mm.
And it's got really, as you alluded to, it's got really bad in the last several years, right?
Yes,
Compared to how long you been
there.
umpiring?
I think about 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, kind
And
of
even in 10
crazy.
years, it's got much worse.
No, it has. It has. And when I say that, though, there are great kids out there and great parents, though. Don't get me wrong. I love the game. I call it my sanctuary because to me, sometimes it's the only thing that makes sense. It's a geometric field. There's geometry, there's math involved, science involved, and trying to hit a oval sphere with a rounded bat does not make any type of logic. It's probably one of the hardest things you'll do is to hit a baseball. I really believe that.
Well, I believe that too. So and there's a lot of good, talented kids and a lot of good coaches that care, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
probably still the bulk of the parents are good
they're
and
good,
care, and it's like with most things in life, it's that select few that create problems for everybody, right?
right? Absolutely. Because what we always talk about is even when they're younger, is if we can get them to respect the game and each other. When they get to high school, those that do just high school or college will appreciate the players because they'll get it. They understand why they're there. They understand your role as an umpire. American Legion baseball used to, and they still do. There's a code that they have to recite. I know when my dad did games back in the day, the kids, the coaches would all get out and recite that code. And I think sometimes maybe that's what's missing. It's a game. It's a
Right.
game, okay? And understand that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So you're gonna umpire for as long as you can.
Yeah, I probably will. I'm probably crazy enough.
Yeah.
I've been hit enough times in the face. I've hit. I've been hit below the belt a couple times. That's always refreshing. Thigh, arm. You know. chest. But I remember when I first learned how to do this, I think the guy was a minor league umpire, and he said, "You're going to get hit, so just accept it and roll with it." And he was right.
Mm-hmm. Once a game? Or
Excuse me.
not that often?
Oh, no. It depends. It depends on the level. Like when you're doing kids in high school, I love them because they'll turn around and smile at you and say, "Hey, I got you covered." And when you see how big they are, and man, they block everything for the most part. That's great. Now, when you have to jump down to someone that's 10 years old, different deal.
Right. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with their not wanting to. It's just lack of ability because of age. Right.
Right. And I always talk to kids up there at that age, or even the teenagers. I'll kiddingly say, "Is that your dad?" Yeah. Hey man, just relax and have fun with it. And they'll look back at me and smile, because no kid goes up there wanting to strike out. Let's get real here.
Right.
They have enough pressure on them, or to throw balls and walk kids if they're pitching. We understand that. So,
Exactly. That's awesome. So, kind of
and I
as we
know
wind
Kellen
down
Ann,
here,
she
what's
says we're
Kellen
going to
saying?
be neighbors. We're going to be neighbors. So,
You are going to be neighbors. How far is Kellen moving from you? 20 miles?
are, yeah. Well, where's she going to be at? Like, is it Is she coming to Georgia
Oh, yeah, you
or?
didn't know that. Yes.
No, I did not know that.
I heard it's right down the street from you, same neighborhood. She's going to be your HOA president.
Oh my.
And if you don't have an HOA, she's going to form it.
Oh, she's going to be in Houston, or Houston, as they say.
Yeah.
You know.
How
Oh
far is that
wow,
from
I know
you?
where. That's not that far at all. I've been up that way to do some games and tournaments. Yeah.
Well, we heard she wanted to see you in action on the baseball field, is
Oh
what we
my
heard.
goodness. Yeah. Right. Right. My
Oh,
my son did one time, and both of them have watched me. They didn't know they didn't let me know that they were there, and they said, "Dad, how do you put up with this?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, and this was like a 12U tournament, and it went down to the wire. And so, he's like, "How do you just?" I said, "Yeah, I don't even listen to half the comments. I block it out."
yeah.
But yeah, parents
That's awesome.
are fun. I mean, I get a big kick out of them. As I tell everybody, nobody from MLB today, gentlemen, is scouting either team. And Bobby Cox or whoever with the Braves organization isn't going to be here, checking out your son or your daughter. So
Right.
just relax and let's have fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Good advice. And
Yeah.
it's easy for parents to think, and I had boys in sports a million years ago. It is easy to think they're going to be that, right?
Right.
And I think deep down they don't ever think they are because they're just having fun and loving the game. The parents probably more so than the kid thinks they're going to be the next, World Series superstar, right? But
That's true.
so parting words, maybe. What do we need to do going in Mark's message? Let's do Mark's message here. Moving forward into the balance of 21 into 2022. Keep doing what we're doing. Do more of this kind of thing. We've already talked about it, but let's have a little. Give me 2 minutes of Mark's wisdom.
Mark's wisdom. I always tell people be a leader, be a friend, be a service. Most important of all, I think what we need to do as human beings on this earth, Randy, is to be servants. And I don't do enough. I don't think any of us can ever say we do enough. I try. And there are some great teachers out there. And I think we need to plug in and listen to what's being said and not so much on the TV. There are good programming out there on TV, but I think on this platform, there is some excellent opportunity to learn from what I call masters.
Mm-hmm.
And, they would say they're not, but they shed so much wisdom. I think moving forward for me, am I going to keep doing this? Absolutely. I just want to get better and, take things to another level, accelerate my process, and set an example. That's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome. Well said. And you set an example, Mark. And And that's why I knew I had to have you on the show, and we may have you again someday if you'd be so kind, because
Sure.
there's much more we could talk about. You bring a calming effect and a professional demeanor that, but yet you adapted to the new way, the new era. And I think that's because it's funny. You think about you and I on this show. We're probably the exact two people nobody would think about, right? Because we're both
Oh,
older, shall we say?
absolutely. I mean, I can still remember my first phone call with Ken Walls, and he said, professionals have coaches, amateurs don't. And I'm like sitting there one day thinking, how am I going to ever do a live stream, much less a podcast or get on here? What could I possibly say? And then I started breaking things down and thinking, I'll say, well, I do have some things to say, and I've experienced some things. And yes, I have failed, or, but I picked myself up and moved on. And I think, if anything, there's hope out there. And this platform to me offers a lot of hope. For people, maybe they're going to have to reset again, Randy, because maybe their business isn't doing what they wanted it to do, and now they got to figure out another way. Um, so
Yep.
that's why I'm saying, what the tools that are out there are just tremendous. I would have loved to have these 11 years ago. I'm
Right.
sure you would have. I
Oh,
mean, you know,
big time. And a thought just popped in my head, and I wanted to get your maybe as your last take on is somebody asked me the other day, what did you learn the most out of the last 15 months, 18 months, whatever. And I think they meant more. I said, let me approach that not from a technical level, not from figuring out with people like Wes's help how to do these sort of things, yours, watching Christopher Ross, and people, Ken Walls, Jeffrey. But the biggest thing I came out of was not only did I learn to adapt, but I learned to be an adapter. And now it's like I'm nowhere near as afraid, if you will, of whatever's next because we'll just whatever it is, we may like it, not like it. You're sure to like some things and not like others in life, but we've learned to adapt, right?
right. I, I think that that's the whole point, is to be a little bit more humane, and it's okay to have a difference of opinion, right? Regardless of your political affiliation, you ask me, but let's have dialogue. Let's stop pointing fingers and blaming, and let's just sit down and talk. Or if you go to a restaurant, you mentioned the word engagement earlier. Some of these restaurants are being so hardcore about how you place an order and you got to do it this way and go online. And, it's okay to sit down and talk to people and, find out what's going on. I know sometimes people will look at me and say, you don't even know that person. I'll say, hey, you're doing a great job today. Like I may be at the baseball field watching a guy line it. Hey, that's a tremendous job. Thank you. Appreciate what you do today. Even the guy that's picking up the garbage or raking up the field between games, I thank him. I think that's what this has taught me, that not taking yourself so serious, and stay in that servant role, and be cognizant of those around you, because you are being watched. And believe you me, when you're standing behind the plate, you're being watched a lot. But I mean, it's just taught me to be real humble, you know.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, well, Barry Boxman, I just wanted to shout out my buddy Barry. He just a great guest. I agree, Barry. And Mark, it's been a pleasure. Awesome, awesome conversation. And hey, let's do it again someday.
Oh, I would love to. And we'll have to get you on Elevate Your Profits. I mean, I'd love
Yeah.
to have you on there, because you're the master of creating revenue streams in your industry, what you do. Kellen Ann, likewise. Heck, even Wes. I like to talk to technically minded people like Wes. I am really intrigued. I know nothing of how they do things, but it's always intrigued me. And I think that goes back to that curiosity factor.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Wes is a master. That is for sure. I'm blessed. and lucky to have him in my corner. Believe me, there's a lot of things, good things happen that makes me look like I know what I'm doing when I really don't. So
Do
that's
you still have your same team with you? You know, within your organization, those two young ladies. I remember last time we
yes, yep, and one,
outstanding.
yep, one is doing a must-have guest again. Barry Brockstrom, a must-have guest again. Look at that. So,
Oh wow,
but yeah, actually, one of them is is doing a lot of more marketing work for me now. In not this kind
tremendous.
of stuff, but direct with customers, and trying to elevate the game there. So, like you said, it's always about elevating
Right.
and adapting and doing more. And that's my Wes and I talked about this Monday night. We had dinner together. And I'm a fair amount older than Wes, but there is no end game. I don't think in end
No.
games. I'm not going like, well, 4 more years of this or 8 more years of this. I'm trying to build and design and build a life in the world of sales and technology and the things that we're doing here as though I'm going to do it for 50 years.
Right.
When it stops, it'll stop, but I'm not going to stop if I don't have to. So,
I wanted to say this about you and there's another gentleman, Jerry Eisenhower. You two, if you ever, unfortunately you won't, but my brother-in-law, he was in building steel bins, construction with steel buildings. Uh, he was in a similar industry that you do. He served, and it was really interesting to hear Vernon's perspective on business. Obviously, he did very well for himself, but it, just his whole approach. If he could see what's going on today, he would be the first guy to tell anybody starting out, you need to get involved with this. Because he always was like 2 steps ahead. And he didn't have all these tools, where he had his office to the courthouse to this to that. It was strategic, because he was looking at clientele and getting approvals on floor plans and,
mm-hmm.
then I understood where he was located in our city at that time, and he explained it to me. And his whole vision was most people look at ways to save. I'm looking at ways to create and generate more revenue, and
Love it.
that's my approach.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Mark, my friend, thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I
Of
hope I
course.
didn't bore anybody, but you have a
Uh,
great program, a platform. And Wes, I'll say it again, you do a tremendous job. I watch you, even though I don't always necessarily comment, because you know what I'm doing. I'm picking up this bad boy and taking care of business.
there
And,
you go.
so I kind of watch and in between calls. So, but thank you so much again for having me, Randy.
You got it, my friend. Mark, love it. Thanks, brother.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. See you. They are, folks. My friend, my pal. Mark and I have known each other about a year, and as I've talked many a time, most of it's all through virtual. We've never met personally, but I consider him a good friend, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I know Barry did. Thank you, Barry. Um, I'll bring you back someday, and we'll talk some more sales and more life in general. But until then, next week we're gonna have an interesting guest again, Reggie Stoltzfus from Dustcraft Trust. Reggie's a guy. He and I go back a number of years now. Uh, Reggie's going to talk about the trust business. He's going to talk about the lumber pricing, where that whole thing falls, and we may even bring up a little bit of his background of the last few years. You talk about being a servant. Reggie is a Ohio state congressman in the state of Ohio. Represents an area out in kind of the northeast part of Ohio, very respectfully, and does a great job. So proud of what he does, and so look forward to that next week when we talk to Reggie. So all I've got to say is thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the support by everybody. And remember, you only get to go around once. You know what I'm going to say. Live it, love it, own it, and make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.